Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness. We hope our territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people within a reconciliation process. We're on the Haldeman Tract, located on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land.
Welcome to the Let's Be Well Together podcast. It's Elise Seifert here with Sheila Webster.
It's me. Hi, Elise. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sheila. So what's on your mind today?
Well, I actually participated in an amazing yoga meditation class just a few weeks ago. I mentioned it to you and you were like, oh my goodness, we should talk about all the different types of meditation. So I thought that was a great idea. Let's do it, Elise.
Let's do it. I know often people have this image of what meditation is, and it's just sitting in silence. I know even my students, so I teach kindergarten, we participate in meditation every day. And when I first introduce it to them, they always hold their fingers where they make a circle with their thumb and their middle finger. Yeah. And I think, where do you get this idea? I don't know where this idea of meditation comes from. Everyone just kind of has.
I don't know. I think there's a Mickey Mouse picture, like a Mickey Mouse like that, or, cartoon characters that hold their hands like that. And now, supposedly, depending on what finger you're holding means something different, right?
It does. And I'm certainly not an expert in that, but I know I've explored it a bit during my yoga teacher training course, and just that the different fingers can give you different mental and physical benefits.
Right. I guess just focus on that particular benefit.
Yeah. But I always find it so interesting that even from such a young age, we have such an idea of what meditation is. And when I did my yoga teacher training course, I learned that meditation can be a lot of different things, and we can meditate in many different ways.
Right.
So I thought it was so interesting to hear that you did a new form of meditation for yourself.
Right. So the meditation that I did in this yoga was called sound bowls, and they are from Nepal. So these were Nepal sound bowls that the instructor used, and there were about 15 different bowls, and we get into our Savasana pose. And supposedly what happens with these sounds is it starts to line up your chakras.
So interesting.
Yeah, depending on the sounds that he uses, inspires different chakras.
And for Shavasana pose, you're laying on your back.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're breathing, and he didn't talk at all. During the meditation, he just used different sounds, different speeds of sounds. Sometimes it would be like a trill, do-do-do-do, and sometimes it's just a dum.
So to make the sounds with the bowl, he used some sort of hammer?
Yeah, like a drumstick that with the little ball on the end. That's what he had. So, and he would hit the inside of the bowl or the outside of the bowl, and even take his stick and go around the bowl so it had a continuous, like you would do with your finger on a wine glass, that type of sound. Yeah, so it was a lot of different sounds, very calming sounds. And they hit you in different places. Like I definitely could feel some of the sounds hitting me from my head coming down, some of them from my heart opening, some of them coming up my back, those different types of feelings. Nothing was loud or scary or, it didn't bring in any of those feelings. It was very calming and interesting. And then we were done. The sound was over, and he was like, move your fingers and your toes like usual and wake up your body. So I thought it was very interesting. I don't know how to line up my chakras. I don't know if they lined up, right? Like, I don't know how that works, but I thought it was very interesting, and it did keep you in your meditation.
Right. It kept you focused.
Kept you focused because you would, sometimes I like to have a mantra to keep me focused, through, so I can kind of breathe and then do your mantra. I'm safe. I'm here. I'm, whatever your mantra is. And then it was a half-hour meditation. So you would definitely wander sometimes and not even know that you're wandering. And then all of a sudden you'd hear that sound and it would bring you back going, oh, breathe, go back to. So yeah, I thought it was very interesting and a lot of fun.
That is so interesting. And a way to use another sense to kind of keep you in the present.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. It used that sound sense. So it helped. Yes. Any other meditations that you know of, Elise?
Yes. So I know when I went in 2015, I went to Goa, India for my yoga teaching certification. And every day we had a meditation class for 1 hour at the end of the day.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, how am I going to do this for an hour? With my idea of what meditation was, which is just sitting in silence, trying to be present and mindful.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes we did do that, but other times we used other senses, just like you use the sense of sound. We would use our sight. We would also just use movement to help keep ourselves in meditation.
Wow.
So one of my favorite is an object scanning meditation practice.
Okay.
So when I was first introduced to it, we used a vase and we placed it in the middle of a circle. It was a very ornate vase. And for 15 minutes, you had to scan the vase from one point to another point as slowly as you could.
Oh.
So just trying to take in every little piece of the vase that you could.
That is so cool.
And then for the next 15 minutes, you had to focus on the whole vase. So trying to see all of it all at once for 15 minutes, which sounds it sounds really simple. You're like, I'm just staring at a vase, but you're trying to see all of it, not focus on one thing, just trying to see the whole thing. So it really helped to keep you very present. Mm-hmm. And another way we used sight was with mirrors, actually. So we had set up a tea light candle in front of a mirror and you sat in front of the mirror. And it was a very similar practice where you started from the top point of the mirror and you worked your way all the way down. And then you wanted to see just focusing on your face as a whole and trying to take in everything. And it was a very interesting experience. I found at moments, when you keep your eyes open for so long, things start to kind of like blur or change colors. So it's a very strange experience when you're doing it.
Yeah, because you know how you look at sometimes when you're staring at something and the picture actually changes or expands or focuses. So it was something kind of like that.
With your face.
With your face. But when you're looking in the mirror, was that your mirror? You couldn't see anyone else in that mirror?
No. So we had individual mirrors for each of us and they were quite small.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool.
So I found that really interesting. And I think it kind of changed my mindset into what meditation has to be. We also did some meditation involving music and movement.
Right.
So we would just listen to drumming and we would just move our body. So at first we were prompted to kind of bounce our body in a way that felt good. And then we were prompted to shake and to jump and move. And that was something really strange for me because I grew up with a dance background, as you did as well. So to think of movement as meditation, I thought was very strange, but then it made me reflect on my dancing experience and how present you have to be dancing and how much focus it requires and how it could be a form of meditation.
For sure.
Well, so I think there are a lot of different ways to meditate and that meditation doesn't have to just mean one thing.
Yes. Well, that is so cool because the other two types of meditation that I've participated in is a leaded meditation where your instructor is actually, and I love this, it just makes you aware and calms down every single muscle. They literally walk you from head to toe or toe to head and go through every single muscle and you feel either sometimes they're like feel a color radiating from your knee and coming down. And so they talk you through it and you really focus on their voice and then you focus on your own and then you relax. And they sometimes talk about it through water or heaviness and you just feel so wonderful at the end, but you do have to really stay focused. You can just like wander off into the sea and like off you go floating away, right? And then another one that I participated in, which I thought was very interesting. This was also a leaded meditation, but they focused on different organs and every organ had a color. So you had to focus on where your kidney was. And that kidney was yellow. And so you had to like visualize where your kidney was and then visualize the color and it lighting up. And then it had an animal that was related to that organ. And then they talked about the animal and how it moved, and then they moved to the next organ, the heart. And I thought that was really interesting too. as
that
kind
is
of
so interesting.
Yeah, your whole body and feeling, you know, how sometimes they're like breathe through your kidneys or breathe through. So you're kind of trying to breathe through those organs and opening them up and relaxing. So it's another meditation that I did. So
many forms of meditation. And I know some people are skeptical about meditation and especially those kinds of meditations where they think, well, you can't breathe through your kidney. That's impossible. But I think even if you're not believing that it's helping, let's say your chakras, or not believing that it's helping your organs, you know that you're doing something good for yourself and kind for your body, and it'll make you feel good after you do it.
Well, I definitely know because of dance that if I focus on a muscle, I can make that muscle work. My mind can make that muscle work. And I do feel like I can do that with my organs too. Have you ever done the one where they're like nodding in, like you would close? They're wet and then you're trying to rinse out everything and squeeze that organ, squeeze everything out and then let it go. That type of feeling. I think that's awesome for just sometimes we hold whatever we're holding, even, you know, if we're frustrated or just your day or you're just holding anger even in something, it gets in places that you don't even realize are there. And so when you do this type of meditation, it can release things that you don't even realize need to be released. So I do think that there's a lot of things that a meditation can help with. It's worth it.
Definitely agree.
Yeah.
Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. Today's interview is in the category of social wellness. I had a great chat with Spencer Delisle a little while ago about breathing and meditation. Today we're going to discuss another of Spencer's cherished projects, the World Culture Festival, an initiative of the Art of Living Foundation. Welcome back, Spencer.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
Spencer Delisle is a director and facilitator with the Art of Living Foundation, MC spokesperson for World Culture Festival 2023. He's vice president, faculty and board member with TLEX Institute, and vice president of the International Association for Human Values. He's been a lead instructor on multiple research studies examining the effects of meditation and breathing technique on stress and trauma. He was born in Montreal. He's lived in lots of places in Canada and seen a lot of the country. And as I mentioned last time, it's music to my ears that the Art of Living Foundation's goal is to create a stress-free and violence-free world, which is amazing. Spencer, can you please start us off with a description of the World Culture Festival?
I think giving some context to the world we're living in now, I think it's no surprise that there's, quite a bit of division and polarization. And
I think that's the word I hear more than anything. Polarized.
Isn't it?
Or tribal.
Yeah, that's it. We used to heard the polarized back in the day, when you used to, develop your film at the pharmacy,
right?
Polarizing the film, but now it's in a different way. And I think most of us, we want to see how we can find common ground and we want to live, in a peaceful society. And I think that was really the impetus of these World Culture Festivals. We actually started them back in 2016. This is our fourth one that we just had in Washington, D.C. The first one was in Bangalore, India. The second one was in Berlin in Germany. And the third one was in Delhi, India. And then this last one we just had in Washington, D.C. And the whole idea is that, why do we have to just tolerate each other? Can't we celebrate our diversity? And, we may look different. We may eat different food. We may worship differently. We may have different views on many things, but we can all celebrate amazing culture, music, dance, meditation. All of these things bring us together. And that was the idea of the World Culture Festival, to come together and, really show the world that, hey, we may have different views, but we're a one world family, and let's celebrate life together.
That is a nice thought. A lot of times if I'm hearing a conversation or part of the conversation and you start hearing about them and they and they're doing this and that, whatnot, I know that it's starting to go in a direction that's probably not going to make me very comfortable. But when I'm hearing about we, it's a lot different, right?
Yes.
So it sounds like there's a lot of thinking about us and we as part of this World Culture Festival, as opposed to the polarization that you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things we've seen at different times in the world. Like I remember when we did the World Culture Festival in Berlin, the stadium we did it in Berlin is the Olympic Stadium there. And that was really a launching pad for Hitler and World War II. And we kind of flipped the script when we had our World Culture Festival there. And this was totally the reverse, bringing people together, celebrating that richness of diversity in peace and joy, and really a moment to enjoy together. And then we had about 70,000 people attend. And then in Delhi, India, we actually did it on the banks of the Yamuna River. Amazing celebration, our biggest yet. 3.75 million people came.
Wow.
Not your average backyard party.
I was going to ask, like, who are the people who attend? I wondered if they were like specialty groups or professionals, but it sounds like maybe everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's
anybody, everybody.
There you go. To get almost 4 million people, it's everybody. And that's it. We had the last two festivals in Washington and in India. We had like over 180 countries around the world. And it's a beautiful thing, like, being MC at the last two festivals. I just remember being up there on stage and looking at those millions of people and seeing Israeli and Palestinians together celebrating, and seeing Indians and Pakistanis celebrating, and seeing people of diverse backgrounds coming together and appreciating each other and celebrating each other. I remember just welling up with tears in my eyes, seeing that, and knowing that it's like, when you see that, there's a lot of hope for the world. And, I think those good vibes that we experienced on those days, it makes a difference, because we all kind of come back into our own community and spread that positivity. And I think we need a little more of that these days.
You said that the first one was in 2016 and there have been 4. Are they at preset times, or do you decide to do one and then announce it? How does that work?
The first one actually was in 2006.
Oh, 2006.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had one, I believe, in 2011. That was in Berlin, Germany. And then 2016, and then one just now in 2023. Yeah, usually we have about every 4 or 5 years. The pandemic a little bit broke up our plan. So we had it a little bit later this time. We're going to have another one. Right now, there's kind of a competition between various nations as to who will host it. Even during the festival, we had many leaders. We had one of the senior leaders in Japan that made a request that it come to Japan. Australia also wants us to come there. And then, of course, there was a member of Congress from Colombia that wanted it to be in Latin America too. So, yeah, I think once people get a taste of this kind of enthusiasm, joy, we also did some very deep, very powerful meditations and breathing techniques at this big gathering. And I think when people experience that the kind of benefits of those techniques of being together, celebrating each other, you just want more of it. And that's not to say that we can never have disagreements, or, we can't see things the wrong way. Of course, that's part of being human, and that's part of the richness actually of interactions, and communication. But being able to, at the end of the day, see ourselves not as just adversaries, but actually part of the same human family. And hey, you may think a certain way, I may think a different way, but I respect you because of who you are, because of our common humanity. And I appreciate that you think things in a different way, and maybe it's able to give me a new perspective on things.
What's the actual format? So you have all these people who get together. What do they do?
Right. What we had was, it was a 3-day celebration. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we had the entire Washington Mall, the National Mall in Washington, D.C. So I don't know if you've ever been there.
I can picture it, but I've never been there.
We had essentially from the Congress building, that big building with the dome on top, all the way to the Washington Monument. So
right. That very tall, thin.
That's exactly it. Right. Yeah, exactly that. So the whole Washington Mall we had, and we had pavilions, we had activities for the whole family, for the kids. We had 85 food trucks with food from around the world. We had 17.
I think I might go just for that.
I think so too. Me too. I'm also a foodie. Yeah. And it was remarkable, like tasting these different cuisines from all around the world. It was really delicious and really entertaining and amazing. Just the conversations, you get started over good food. We had 17,000 artists from around the world. We had,
and do they show something or do they talk?
Right. Yeah. So there's a big stage there where we had a lot of the dignitaries and the leaders were there. And then on the main part of the stage was where the performances took place. We had 1,000 dancers from China that were there. There was these huge kind of dragons coming down the mall, and They had the kung fu happening. And then you move on, and we had a hip hop group, Curtis Blow, kind of the founder of hip hop. It was the 50th year of hip hop. So we had all these artists, these well-known artists from hip hop that came and entertained and played. And then we had some Russian and Ukrainian dancers. We had some singers and some whirling dervishes. Where were they from? I believe it was from Afghanistan. There was an amazing group from Pakistan, amazing singers and dancers there. An incredible group. I believe it was something like 6,000 singers and dancers from India, representing many of their traditional instruments, their traditional dance as well. You were kind of in this state of being spellbound after spellbound each performance. And the performances were in the evening, and then during the day we had kind of the cultural pavilions and the food and what have you. Then we had some speeches from different politicians, as well as some world leaders, religious leaders, and also leaders of different NGOs and that kind of a thing. There's a wonderful message from the founder of the Art of Living, Sri Ravi Shankar, who really inspired this whole festival and the Art of Living Foundation. And then there was the whole crowd, which we had, I think, over 1 million people came. It's not just like 1 or 2 people were interested in this. It was really something that I think the world is yearning for. And it all came together somehow amidst many challenges, that's for sure.
I know it's cliche, the expression, it warms my heart, but it warms my heart that 1 million people would come together in the hopes of finding some way to kind of find peace with each other and enjoy each other. I imagine you must talk to people after they leave, after they've enjoyed it, just to try and get a sense of what they get out of it. What kind of things do you hear from people about what they get out of it?
I think it depends. I think some people that came for the first time, and they just happened to stumble upon the event because it was on, the TV, or they saw something on the internet or something like that, or on social media, and they came down. And yeah, I remember speaking to this one couple. They're an African-American couple from the United States, from Washington, D.C. They expressed to me that they can't remember a time having this many people on the mall, first of all, and second of all, with no violence.
Right.
And we didn't have any incidences of any violence whatsoever. So I think this was just a shock for many people. And even in the media, when we were interviewed on this, I believe the law enforcement had shared with us that they also, in that area of Washington, D.C., they had a reduced violence within the community as well. So it just goes to show you that these benefits, of course, you feel more joyful, you feel more uplifted. Many people shared that. But it also, those good vibes, you could say, have a positive benefit to the community and the people around too.
It shows what's possible, and that's amazing.
No kidding.
With that many people attending, I'm guessing that there's some challenges at times. Do you have any stories about that?
Well, I think we could do another 10 episodes just on the challenges.
I bet. I mean, I try and organize small events, and it just blows my mind how big this must be.
It's remarkable. I mean, a remarkable selfless service from really thousands of volunteers across the United States and really across the world. People came from around the world. And one of the challenges that I remember just in the final days before this event, our event was going to take place. Our event was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I don't know if you remember around that time, it was at the end of September, that there was going to be a government shutdown.
Right. I do remember that. And there was a lot of politics happening at the time.
A lot of politics, a lot of jockeying for power. And pretty much we were told by our consultants that it was 100% going to happen. Government was going to shut down, and not 100%, 99% was going to happen. A lot of the media was also coming to us. And it was interesting because the media wasn't so interested in covering the event without this challenge aspect. Like, I guess the negative news is very easy to get attention, but the positive news often doesn't get so much attention.
Yeah, people aren't interested.
It's too bad. It's very true. And I mean, the other aspect of it is that now we've really taken up that baton. I think there's a lot of other people that want to join in and are taking that baton of saying that, like, okay, the violence and has made the loudest noise for many years. And now it's time for the voice of peace to be heard loud and clear. And that was one of the main goals of our festival, the World Culture Festival. So in these interviews we would have just before the event, they would say, okay, well, it's going to be a government shutdown. Your event is on Sunday, is the last day, and that's the planned day for the government to shut down. What will you do? And interestingly enough, our perspective was that this many people meditating together, this many people bringing such a positive energy, this many people celebrating, in such a peaceful and enthusiastic way. Do you really think there will be no benefit? Do you really think this will not affect our surroundings and these leaders and the situation? Well, of course, our opinion was that it is going to go ahead and there's going to be no problem. That's exactly what happened. We told them that the founder of the Art of Living, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, he always has the best answer for these things. And he said that, even though we know it's going ahead, let's set up the plan. And we had planned to bring it to another venue, which would have just essentially accommodated maybe half of the artists that were there. But we felt confident that it would happen. And sure enough, the day came and everything went ahead without a hitch. And I think that's the power of this meditation and these practices and coming together for peace, is that it has an effect on our body, it has an effect on our mind, has an effect on our spirit, and it has an effect on the energy in the environment. Like you think of a cell phone, and the cell phone has two aspects: the seen and unseen aspect. The buttons on the phone are the seen aspect. The Wi-Fi maybe, or the telephone signal is the unseen. And in the same way, we have the same thing. We have our body, and then we have these more subtle kind of positive vibes, that you can feel when you walk into a room, if it's a tense room, if someone's had an argument, and definitely make a massive impact when you get over 1 million people together, celebrating, meditating, and really embodying that strength of peace.
Well, it'll be a question for the ages as to whether all that positive vibes stopped the government shutdown.
That's right.
As you know from the last time, at the end of the interview, we ask every guest the same question in a context where we have many areas of wellness that are important to us, but we don't seem to have enough time to take care of all of them at any given time. So we do our mini wellness check-in. Are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of even one thing you can do to foster wellness in that area?
Yeah, I think that one other area I feel I could improve is probably more consistency in my exercise routine.
I think that's a big one for so many people. You talked, especially on the last interview, about how busy we all are. There's so many things to do, and you can barely even find time at night to talk to your friends and get enough sleep. So the message we keep trying to send on our podcast is physical health is so important. And if you have to make trade-offs and choices, don't trade off exercise, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, and all that kind of stuff. So I hope you're able to find a little more consistency.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a goal of mine, and I think, interestingly enough, we were very busy, in the lead up to the World Culture Festival, but I made sure to take that time. And yeah, I ended up lifting something that I shouldn't have, and I kind of strained my back, and I got some treatment on that, and I'm getting some treatment on that. And in the meantime, I've kind of dropped my routine because I can't do everything I have been. But just recently I had this reflection. Well, just because I can't do everything I want to doesn't mean I can't do some things. So this is a nice reminder that I can get back on the horse and just do what's possible. And at least it keeps some kind of continuity.
I've really enjoyed both conversations that we've had, and I really thank you for joining us and sharing your experiences and thoughts.
Me too. Thanks a lot, John. And I really appreciate, the kind of togetherness and the information and the inspiration, the motivation that you're providing for so many people. You're bringing a lot of good in the world, and I really appreciate you for that.
I'm Cameron, and welcome to another installment of the Adventures of the Starving Artist. Welcome to 2024. We're in it now, friends. I'll tell you, for me, it's been a bit of a blur, to be honest. One of the facets of wellness, physical wellness, right? I've been so focused on other aspects of life and career lately that I have definitely neglected some of my physical wellness, and mostly in the form of sleep, or lack thereof. I was saying to my mom today, I am definitely running a bit of a sleep deficit, but it's okay. I'm feeling good. I'm not overwhelmed, and I'm not, digging myself into a hole. Thankfully, it looks like I'm going to get some sleep here in the next couple days that I can really sort of wind her down and detach and catch up a bit. But like I said, I've been hitting the ground running all this year so far, so I got so much to tell you about, and I can't fit it all into this one segment, but I'll at least get you started. So after playing New Year's Eve with Shy Harry down in Cambridge, I packed up all my things and headed back on up to Ottawa. It was a long drive, of course, being wintertime and driving by myself, especially after New Year's Eve. I was feeling a little bit run down, but all in all, good stuff, smooth sailing, made it back to Ottawa, and immediately back in the saddle. On the day job front, I've been lining up lots of meetings and partnerships with community centers and schools up here. To give group classes and one-on-one lessons for students. So that's been pretty good. Also, I've been picked up on another project. One of the musicians up here from Musicians Christmas, you might remember that segment last year. Her name's Sheila, and she's running a Shania Twain tribute band. So not just covers, like we are covering the songs, but a tribute band, it's like an extra level up. You don't just learn a solo that fits on top, you learn the solo, note for note. And you don't just learn keyboard parts that sort of fit the music and the right chords, you learn the keyboard parts. So there's an extra challenge there, making sure it's perfect, note for note, all that good stuff. But I'm up for the challenge. What's been really interesting, though, is for those of you who are familiar with Shania Twain, you'll know there are some fiddle parts in there, too. And they're pretty integral to some of those tunes, like they carry a lot of the main riffs. Now, right now in this tribute band, we have no fiddle player. Not because we don't know any fiddle players. Between the 4 other people in the band and myself, we know several, and qualified ones. It's more a matter of, how can I put this? Mouths to feed? Yeah, the more people you have in the band, the smaller each person's cut becomes. And since we're just getting started and using these first few gigs almost as paid rehearsals, to be honest with you, to sort of work out the kinks and feel it out, I am in charge of playing the violin parts and the keyboard parts. So it's been a lot of learning. In addition, I have to learn a bunch of other country music, and you might remember country is it's not my thing. It's not my genre. I really have to get myself in the zone to start doing that stuff. Thankfully, the music's not too difficult, but all in all, I've had to learn about 4 hours worth of country music in like 3 days. So I'm feeling pretty countryed out. You can stay tuned for more from that group, though. We're actually performing tomorrow night for our first one, over in the Heart and Crown Byward Market here in Ottawa, and we'll be playing from 10 p.m. until 2 in the morning. So buckle up, Cameroon. No sleep, at least not yet. I've got so much more to tell you about, but for now, that's all. Have a great week. Hope that 2024 has been treating you well so far. I'm Cameron. This is The Starving Artist. Until next time.
We love our listeners and thanks for joining us. Please help spread the word about Let's Be Well Together podcast. Follow us and rate us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at lets.be.well.together and let your friends know about us.
Move that body like we're meant to do. Hey, John, let's do another gym etiquette.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's time for another. I say that because I'm going back to the gym and I noticed a few things, but I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. A reminder, people, on episode 57, we had gym etiquette number 1. And just to go over them quickly, wipe down machines, don't save machines, try to talk a bit quieter when you're having a conversation. If you're having a conversation with someone, don't have it on the machine when you're not using the machine. And let's not be on the phone when you're on the machines.
Right. So what do we want to do this time for gym etiquette?
A quick reminder. I mean, some of these rules were broken the last time I was there. There was this one guy and he had one of those, whatever the things are in your ear.
Yeah.
The ear pods.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not very far away from me and he was on elliptical. And he talked literally the entire half hour that he worked out. And in a really kind of an obnoxious, oh yeah, and it's just like very
for the whole 30 minutes. And you've got to talk pretty loud because you can hear them in your head, bud. You can hear the people you're talking to, but you've got a machine on and you're just on the speaker. So they have a hard time hearing you. So you're talking really loud.
Yeah. So like if you have to do a quick phone call, like, hey, I'm going to be home late, or yes, that's right, and I'm going to do this, great. But don't have half-hour conversations, please.
Yeah.
And then as I'm rolling my eyes because of that, I look to the side and a guy just gets off the machine and walks away without wiping it. So
see it all the time.
I know COVID is not here anymore. Please, people, please wipe the machines.
But COVID is still here.
You're right. COVID is still here, but it's
still
not
here.
as...
But like, so now you think that we would have gotten in the habit of doing it, but no.
So we've already spent half the time talking about the last time.
Okay.
So let's get through some new ones. What's something else, Sheila?
Outdoor shoes.
What do you mean?
Now that it's winter, it's wet outside and people just wear their running shoes and just bring them and walk right in and go right onto a machine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, all the time.
I've never seen that.
So I come in my boots and I'm changing them into my shoes and I see at least 4 or 5 people just go directly onto the machine while I'm there changing my shoes.
Boo.
Boo.
Okay, so that's a definite no-no.
The next one I have on my list is putting equipment away. So I understand, and I do this all the time. I take the equipment to a machine or, so that I can vary my workout, which is great. No problem. It would just be nice if you could put it back where you got it. Don't just put it in a random spot that's closest to you.
No, that's a great idea.
That would be lovely.
Because I do these workouts if I'm doing weights, and I definitely have to go to one side of the room to get one thing and another side for something else.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah, I don't like having to wander around looking for the equipment that you need.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty straightforward one. Mm-hmm. You also mentioned that you have problems because people are having conversations in high traffic areas. So I think what you mean by that is, like people need to walk here and there to get to a machine and you're kind of blocking their way.
Yeah. Like in my gym, you have to go upstairs to get to the weights and all the machines and the classes are downstairs. And I'm going upstairs and people are having a conversation on the stairs.
Oh.
Right. So I have to go kind of through them and it's just, I don't know. It's just, I find it's just a little inconvenient and I feel like I'm inconveniencing them in the middle of their conversation walking. So it'd just be nice if you're going to have a conversation that you just pull it to the side somewhere, that it's not interrupting everything. So the next one I have is show up to class on time. If you're going into a class, it'd be great if you showed up on time, maybe a few minutes early, so we can start and go.
Do people actually wait to start till people come in?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes if there's only like 3 people in the class, like sometimes I've started classes where there's only 3, and by the time the class is over, there's 20. Right?
I'm definitely a person who shows up on time all the time. And I hate to say it, but I get frustrated by people who show up late. I'm like, come on, man. Like
Because there's
I know you're not
spacing.
trying to disrespect, but it's, to me, that's how I take it, rightly or wrongly.
Because there's a spacing issue, right? Like if you're in the class, you each have your own space. If you know there's only 3 people, you kind of do that. But if there's 20, you have to keep moving and making room for people who show up late.
And then I have been keeping my eyes open for this etiquette, gym etiquette stuff. And I did see some articles. And one of them, I'll just pull off one from a list. Give people personal space. And I'm like, that's a really good one.
I agree.
And one of the things they mentioned that I didn't really think about was don't look over your shoulder at the person's screen. Like, you're not there to compare yourself. Mm-hmm. Now, I actually have a pretty funny story about that. Mm-hmm. I know you wanted to mention something, which is when I go on the machine, I do all my running on kilometers as opposed to miles.
So you have to change the machine because they're naturally in miles?
All my stats are kilometers. So if I'm on the machine, I also want to know how many kilometers did I run in an hour or half an hour, not how many miles.
Right.
Okay, miles are smaller. So if you get on that machine, a fast-paced walk is like, say, 3. Uh-huh. But for me, because I switch it, it's 5.
Right.
So I've had quite a few experiences where people like look over my shoulder at my machine and it's on like, I don't know, 10 or 11. And they're like, oh my God, who is this guy running at 11
miles?
And really it's not.
It's
a lot less, but that just goes to show you don't always see the reality too when you look at someone's screen. But what were you saying about that?
I just find that I do notice sometimes when I'm on an elliptical or on the treadmill and someone's right beside me that they are looking at my screen, and I can see that in my peripheral vision that they're looking at my screen at the speed I'm going or whatever. And it's just a little creepy.
Yeah, and not only that, it makes me think about it. Like when I'm running, I don't want to have to think about that kind of thing. And now all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, am I at a good speed?
Am I going fast enough?
What's happening? Yeah. Where am I? I don't even really like to look at how long I've been going. Like it's really hard for me not to look at that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to look at it because it's easier if I don't. Okay.
Interesting.
So there's our gym etiquette to sum up. Don't wear outdoor shoes. No conversations in traffic areas. Get to class on time. Put everything back where it belongs. Give people personal space. More great tips. Hope people use them. There's a thought. Popped up while running. There's so much talk about freedom these days. People screaming about it, demanding it. And personally, I think everyone should be free to the extent we can to live our lives however we want. We can make choices about what we prefer, what we enjoy doing. We should be able to do those things. And yet, there's been something bugging me, and I can't really figure out why, but I think I thought more about it the other day when I was out for a run. I worry that sometimes when we think about freedom, it's pretty easy to slip into selfishness instead of freedom. So there's something that I want to do, and I should be able to do it. And I think part of it too is, it's really rights focused. Like I should have a right to do this and a right to do that. But what happens when we start thinking about responsibilities and others? What about the impact that my activity has on other people? To what extent does that come into play? And I know it does to a degree because that's kind of what criminal law is about. Over time, it's been pretty clear, and most societies seem to see that there are certain activities that obviously cause harm to others or even to oneself. And we say that those are criminal acts. And if you do them, you're going to get punished. Why? Because we don't want people doing them. On the other extreme, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do that really doesn't have any impact on other people. So it's not concerning. But I wonder if there's something in between called kind of healthy freedom. So it's not about whether it's criminal or not, but it takes into account the effect on other people. And so I think now when I'm thinking about things like I should have the freedom to do X or Y, I'm going to also think about whether that's a safe and healthy freedom that I'm talking about, or whether it's one that endangers other people. It's me. Am I?
Yeah. Just let me say, flip side of the coin.
Hey, Sheila, we've been talking about this idea, a little bit crazy, but I think I want to go with it.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go with it. What is it?
We often pick what we talk about, our relationship and this and that. We've been doing it for a while, and we can keep coming up with topics. But I thought it'd be fun if we could get listeners to give us some ideas of what they want to hear about.
Yeah, it sounds great.
So not like a Dear Abby, we're not going to give anybody advice, but if people write in and say, hey, well, what are your experiences about this or that? Now, it won't surprise me if people are like, they ask us what are our experiences about something that they're interested in themselves because they're having that experience.
Yeah.
But it would be fun. Mm-hmm. It only works, though, if people actually send us notes.
Yeah, ask us questions.
So you can either go to our website, letsbewelltogether.com, and you'll see that there's a way to send us an email. I think it's at the bottom of each page. You can send an email to letsbewelltogetherpodcast@gmail.com. You can private message us on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I can't remember. Is that called like DMing us or something?
No, because DMing I think is Facebook. But anyways, it doesn't matter. You just you just send a message by Instagram. It's really easy.
But if we can get this going, we want to do this once a month. So once a month, it'll be Dear Flipside.
Yeah,
and we will talk about parts of our relationship that you ask us about.
Yeah.
To a degree.
We'll tell you anything.
Okay, so give us an example.
Okay, so we do have an example question that we just kind of put together. So here's the question.
Can I just interject for 1 sec?
Yeah.
So let's do one, like a sample one, and then maybe in a couple of weeks we'll do another.
Okay.
And then hopefully between now and a month and 2 weeks, somebody will have asked us one, and then we'll hopefully get at least one question every month.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, right?
And if we don't, okay, well, we'll do something else.
Yeah. Okay, so this question is, what's your experience with relationship ruts, especially in the winter? For example, going to work, coming home, having dinner, watching TV, going to bed, repeat. That type of idea.
It is really challenging in Canada. In the summer, we have a backyard. It has a pool. We like to sit outside. There's a garden. Sheila loves sitting in this particular table with a coffee and whether reading or chatting or having friends over. That whole scene is gone in the winter for us.
Totally gone. And it's not just one. Like, there's one place I like to have coffee in the rocking chairs, and then I love to sit under a certain area, you know, when the sun's bright. And then the other area I like to when maybe it's darker and we have lights there. So I love kind of changing it up. So I really do like trying to get outside in the summer. But what do you do in the winter?
And it's just like, so I have a standing desk. And I find that for whatever reason, just because I use my standing desk a lot, just the mere fact that I'm standing up, I move around more. Yes. For whatever reason, I move over to this side of the office, I go grab that, maybe I run and grab a coffee faster, or I walk over to talk to somebody. So just the mere fact of standing up at my desk makes me move more. The mere fact of having more space outside makes us move more.
Yes.
We go outside, we move in this, we garden, we bend over, we do all that stuff. And so I'm rambling on about the wrong thing, but it's for a comparison, because in winter, we tend to, have a busy day, busy, work, go to the gym, go to work, have dinner, and then we tend to just plop down in our couch in our chair and watch TV.
Yeah, and now that we're empty nesters, it's just the two of us, we even sometimes tend to eat in front of the TV, which we never used to do when we had kids.
You mean dinner as opposed to snacks?
We'd always,
and a few snacks. Oops.
Yeah, and no snacking. But so sitting in front of the TV having dinner, that's a big one. So I really want at least more times than not have dinner at the table or at the island. And I feel like you have more of a conversation.
I agree.
So that kind of mixes it up, which is nice. Any other suggestions?
If the question is, are we going through that? The answer is yes, we are going through that. And I'm not sure. Like, the good thing with us is we do tend to notice it. We have been talking about that recently. Like, we just can't keep doing this.
No.
There was a time where we used to do yoga on Friday. Mm-hmm. I think we need to come up with something so we're not just coming down here and plopping down.
Yeah. And it's nice to have activities. We are starting our dance activity on Wednesday night. So that's exciting. I do yoga on Tuesday night. So I think having activities kind of add to your evening. But yeah, we need to plan something like a meditation time or a stretching time or just no TV time. So I suggest we do that.
Or even if you're watching TV, like maybe doing some stretching in front of the TV or
that's one of my favorite things.
The other day you went to work and I didn't want to just plop down. And so I actually took the exercise bike out and cool. I made myself, I didn't go hard at all because I didn't want to sweat or anything. I just wanted to be moving a bit while I was watching TV.
That's great.
So like, I don't think you can't not watch TV, but again, and who knows, maybe the answer is maybe we need to do a check-in once a month.
Yeah.
Like not just to say once a month, hey, have we fallen into a rut?
Yeah.
We don't do that right now, but maybe we should.
Let's do it.
Okay. And then we have to figure out. But in the meantime, I'm a little scared because it is kind of relaxing to just come down. and does this mean I'm going to lose that?
Yes, you're going to lose that.
please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way. It's sign-off time, and I'm here with Elise and Sheila.
Hello.
Hello.
The first news this week is that we moved the podcast studio from the basement to an actual room upstairs.
I know,
kind of the
I'm
third
so
bedroom, which is an
excited.
office. So Here we are in light. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. On the running front, not only did I get to do my long run outside this weekend, but the temperature was hovering around 0 degrees, which is kind of my favorite running temperature. So I got to do it in shorts. So that was fun. It was kind of the easiest 10K I've done in a while because the last few have been on the treadmill, which is a challenge. It was just so nice to be outside, fresh air, nice sights. I loved it. And then on Friday, we had my sister over and her husband for dinner, and I made vegetarian enchiladas, and I tried something new there. Mm-hmm. Usually I make it with some tofu, but I also threw in some lentils. I decided to try and thicken it up a bit with lentils. Wasn't sure how that would work, but it worked fantastic. They took the Mexican flavor.
Really good.
And so that was great too. So what about you, Elise? How was your week?
I had a good week. It was a fairly normal week, which was really nice to be back into my routine. I think I've kind of fallen out of my workout routine already. We're only in the end of January. So trying to get back into that this week, I think.
Well, you made it for a whole, what?
A whole 2 weeks. I think it's the January blues that I'm feeling. I'm finding it's very cloudy and like gray. I haven't seen the sun in so long. So I'm trying to get outside more, which I think is helping. I know I went for a nice long walk today and that was really nice. So hopefully get outside more and get some sunshine. How about you, Sheila?
Oh, well, I have a really exciting thing to say. My dryer broke last week and I was devastated. And it was like an error that was very technical, like it was something to do with the motherboard. So my son Alex came and looked at it and fixed it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
It only cost us, we won't say how much money, to help him go through school for biomedical engineering, but it paid off.
It paid off. He fixed the dryer, which is pretty exciting because I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I'm going to go laundromat and so that was probably the most exciting thing that happened for me this week. I had a great week at work. It was not too busy, not too slow. So that was really great. And I agree with you, Elise. It was really cloudy and foggy this week. So that was a little depressing. Like you didn't see the sun at all. So I'm really hoping for nicer weather. That would be great. And the 0 in January is just amazing. So we can't complain about that. And there has been sun. So here's hoping for a nice warm week. Get out there and be active and keep doing the workout and get back into the gym. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we will see you next week. That is it for today's show. Please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.